What's going on, you guys? It's Randy with Full Throttle Obsessions. Today I'm going to be giving you guys a list of my top 5 favorite RCs. Now this is of RCs that I personally own and have experience with, and I'll be giving you guys the reason why they're in the spot that they're in, because 90% of the trucks on this list would not have been their stock. I'll go ahead and let you know why I chose them now, as well as some cons on each one, and let you guys know the changes that I have made or some changes that I'm going to make. And definitely make sure you guys stick around to the end of the video, because we have a new RC of a different brand that I haven't had on Full Throttle Obsessions here before. So we're going to unveil the brand at the end of this video. So definitely make sure you guys stick around for that. But let's go ahead and do it. I'll go ahead and show you guys the lineup. It's a pretty decent lineup. I think in total I have 12 RCs. And I got to tell you, it wasn't easy picking out my top 5 out of all 12 of them, because I really do like all of them. But there is a select few that I prefer over the rest, and that's what we're going to be going over today. Starting at number 5, and a perfect example of why one of these RCs wouldn't have made it in the top 5 in stock form, is my Traxxas TRX4. Now in stock form it was just a little bit too low, had too small of tires, and was a little too slow for my liking. Now don't get me wrong, I do like to go out and enjoy a little crawling sesh with the buddies every now and then, but I typically like RCs with bigger tires and have a lot more power. Now the appealing factor of this truck, and is the reason why I initially first purchased it, is the Porter axles, the high and low range, and the front and rear locking differentials. Now you add these J Concepts Sling King tires. They're a lot taller than the factory ones, which give it a little more wheel speed and pretty much goes over anything in its path. Makes this a fun truck. And it just looks mean with those Sling Kings. Now that is what brings this truck into the top 5 for me. This truck has held up extremely well. I really only broke 2 things on it so far. One is the servo ended up going out. It had some type of defect in it. And then we ended up breaking the right side front axle. But other than that, this truck has held up very well, and I always run it on 3S, because I do like that little extra speed. Now at number 4 is my Traxxas E-Revo 2.0. This truck is really fast, definitely has plenty of power, but on the factory side of things, right out of the box, it does need a few upgrades. One of the upgrades that I broke actually on the first run, see if I can show you right there, is these suspension rods. It literally broke on the first run. I wasn't even jumping it or anything, it just pulled the rod out, which I don't know why they did it, but it seemed like the factory suspension rods were actually weaker than the original E-Revo. The original E-Revo, the suspension rods seemed to be a lot stronger. So I'm not sure why they downgraded on the suspension rods. And another weak factor on both the E-Revos is the shock ends. The way the suspension's set up, it just tends to blow out the bottom end of the plastic shock end. But that's an easy fix. I end up going with aluminum ones and haven't had a problem since. But all around, the E-Revo 2.0 is a pretty amazing truck. Moving right along to number 3 on my list is my Traxxas Monster Slash, and is another perfect example of a truck that wouldn't have made it on this list in stock form. It was just a little too low, and I felt it was limited on the type of terrain it could actually go across. Now that we raised it up and put bigger tires and trimmed the body out, and it's more capable to go across pretty much any terrain, this truck is a blast and has been my go-to basher for quite a few years now, coming second behind one of the newer RCs that we're going to get to in a minute. Now a thing that's a must to upgrade on this truck right out of the box is the shock caps itself. You see, we went aluminum shock caps because the first caps I ended up pulling off the shocks itself. But once I went ahead and upgraded to the aluminum ones, well, I don't know if you could see, yeah, you can see them pretty good right there. But once I ended up upgrading to the aluminum ones, we haven't pulled a shock cap yet. But fingers crossed on that one. I don't want to speak too soon, but this truck has been holding up very well. To accept the bigger tires and also running on 3S, I upgraded the slipper clutch. So we got a bigger pad in there so it bites harder. Now if you guys are curious of everything I've done to this truck, I'll go ahead and link those videos in the description below. And coming in at number 2 is my Traxxas Rustler 4x4. Now this thing handles amazing. It's one of the best handling small RCs, 1 in 10 scale, actually that I've ever driven. Now right out of the box it did have some weak points. One of the first things we did, and it was the same with the Slash, is we ended up pulling the shock cap off of the factory shocks. So we ended up upgrading those to aluminum shocks. Also, we ended up breaking the steering rods. Well, let's see if you guys can see in there. We ended up breaking those factory steering rods, so we ended up upgrading those. And also the internal steering components. So we ended up going stronger on those. But other than the steering, this truck is pretty much stock. And going back to the handling, this truck handles like a much heavier truck, probably twice the weight and twice the size. It just seems to be planted to the ground and puts the power down really nice as well, and is my new go-to basher. Now if you guys are curious to what steering internals I went with, I'll go ahead and link that video down in the description below. Alright, and at number 1 is the Traxxas X-Maxx. Now I have two of them. I got the first generation 6X X-Maxx and the 8S X-Maxx. And I have to say I love both of these trucks. They are both at number 1. They do definitely have different purposes. If I'm running in a smaller area, I'll usually go with my 6S X-Maxx. And of course, if I'm in a bigger area with a lot of open space, I'll go ahead and run the 8S. Now these two trucks are perfect out of the box. The only thing I've done is on the 6S X-Maxx, I ran a bigger C-rated pack, so it's a little quicker off the line. And on my 8S X-Maxx, I went ahead and geared it up a little higher so it didn't wheelie like crazy everywhere. So don't just throw it on a wheelie every time we take off. And also on the 8S X-Maxx, I ended up going with aluminum steering arms. You can see right there, they're blue and anodized blue. The reason why I ended up upgrading those is because I landed a little wrong on a jump and broke the plastic ones. Now sometimes going aluminum is not really the way to go if you're bashing, because then the next thing it's going to break is the next weakest link down the line. But so far I have not had any issues. Now both of these trucks should just take a beating and just keep going, which is why they're my number 1 truck and is the reason why I have 2. Alright, I hope you guys like that list of my top 5 RCs that I actually own. Now as promised, I'm going to go ahead and reveal the next brand of RC car that we got here at Full Throttle Obsessions. Now I'm going to just reveal the brand for today, and you'll see what model it is in an upcoming video. And the brand is an Axial. Now I'm real excited about this. I've been wanting to get an actual RC for quite a while now. And I want to go ahead and do something a little different. Go ahead and put a comment below on what actual RC that you think this is. And we'll go ahead and reveal this next week, as well as an unboxing. But alright you guys, I hope you liked the video, and as always, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.